I betrayed my devoted husband, Daniel, and ended up marrying the man I had an affair with, Ethan. Years later, fate delivered a twist I never saw coming. My closest friend, Sarah, married Daniel, my ex-husband. Daniel and I parted ways in 2019, a decision that felt right at the time. During the early days of the pandemic, he discovered my infidelity with Ethan, a local bartender. When confronted, I admitted everything, confessing that I no longer loved him and wanted to separate. Daniel, with remarkable dignity, handled it with calm restraint. Our divorce was quiet, without bitter fights or legal disputes over assets. We simply moved on. He relocated 2 hours away to a quieter town for a new job and to pursue his PhD, while I stayed behind with Ethan, who later became my husband. Despite everything, Daniel and I agreed to remain civil. I reached out to him on his birthday, sent holiday greetings, and even mailed a gift when he earned his doctorate. But he never responded, not a single acknowledgement. This puzzled me, as Daniel was always considerate. He was known for sending handwritten thank you notes to friends and family. My parents and his brother mentioned receiving such notes, yet I got nothing. I brushed it off, assuming he needed time to heal, and focused on my new life with Ethan. We were consumed with blending our families. Ethan had 2 children from a prior marriage, and with our own child on the way, there was little time to dwell on anything else. Sarah, my best friend since college, lived in the same town as Daniel. She was a sharp attorney who also taught part-time at a local university. She was the kind of friend with whom I could go months without speaking, but when we did reconnect, it was effortless. So when our communication dwindled, I didn't think much of it. Her last message, sent in early 2022, mentioned work pressures, and I assumed she was caught up in a new romance, something she often did. I figured we'd catch up eventually. Last summer, Ethan and I visited the city where Daniel and Sarah lived. I tried contacting Sarah for a quick coffee, but she didn't answer. Disappointed but not shocked, I met up with other friends instead. Then, in November, I attended a Thanksgiving party hosted by a mutual college friend. I traveled alone, and Sarah was there, dressed elegantly, holding a drink by the fireplace. When I greeted her, she seemed uneasy, offering a half-hearted hug. "I tried reaching you this summer," I said, keeping my tone light. She hesitated, then said, "I was on my honeymoon." "Sorry I didn't reply." "Honeymoon?" I asked, stunned. "You got married." She nodded, her expression guarded. "When you never mentioned dating anyone," I said, still trying to process it. Then she delivered the blow. "It's Daniel." My heart stopped. The room seemed to spin as her words sank in. "What?" I stammered, but she cut me off sharply. "You don't get to be upset. You shattered him. We didn't even connect until years after your divorce. You left him for a guy you met at a bar." Her words hit like a slap, and I spent the rest of the weekend drinking to dull the pain. I was reeling from the fact that my best friend had married the man I once vowed to spend my life with, the man I betrayed, yet still thought of more than I cared to admit. Back home, everything felt off. I grew distant from Ethan, irritated by his kids. I pored over old photos, haunted by memories of Daniel's warm smile, the way he'd hold me after a tough day, his quiet forgiveness, and the deeper silence when he couldn't forgive. After weeks of my withdrawal, Ethan confronted me. Our argument erupted into a full-blown fight. I confessed about Daniel and Sarah's marriage, how it tore at me. Ethan laughed bitterly. "I've known for months. It's all over their social media. You just didn't want to notice." His words infuriated me. I lashed out, furious that he kept it from me while I spiraled in confusion, questioning why Sarah had ignored my calls. "You still love him," Ethan said, his voice cold. "I don't." I shot back, but his reply hit hard. "If you didn't, this wouldn't wreck you like this." We argued until dawn. Exhausted, I left for work and stayed at my sister's for a few days to clear my head. When I returned, the tension hadn't eased. Another fight broke out, and Ethan accused me of emotional infidelity. "Maybe he's right. You're acting like you lost everything," he said. I hurled insults, calling him shallow, saying he couldn't understand because he lacked true friendships. It was cruel, and I regretted it instantly, but the hurt and resentment poured out unchecked. That night, I lay awake reflecting on my choices. I had chased a fleeting thrill with Ethan, thinking it was love, when what I had with Daniel was steady, profound, and real. I had discarded it for someone who sparked desire but never truly knew me. Now, Sarah had stepped into the life I left behind, with a man who sent thoughtful notes, who read beside me at night, who kissed me gently before work, the man I promised to cherish forever. Sarah hadn't reached out because she was part of his world now, a world I had walked away from. I had built a new life, but its flaws were glaring. Karma wasn't loud or vengeful. It was quiet, a hollow ache of being erased by those I couldn't forget. I craved closure and explanation, but all I found was the stark truth.